Before the time of Alfred the Great, the most famous of all the Anglo-Saxon kings is unquestionably Offa of Mercia, who reigned for nearly 40 years, from 757 to 796. Offa is, of course, best remembered now for the famous dike that he built in order to protect Mercia, but his reputation grew sufficiently enough in his own time that he would develop close diplomatic relations with the great Frankish king Charlemagne, with Offa even having the temerity to ask for a marriage alliance with Charlemagne's family. Charlemagne rejected this and caused him to shun Offa for a period of time. Whilst Offa's reign was a notably long period for the 8th century, it was far from unheard of for a king to rule for such a long time in this age. His immediate predecessor as King of Mercia, save for a short-lived ruler named Beornred, was a man named Athelbald, who reigned for over 40 years. Whilst the length of these two reigns may suggest a degree of stability, these were nonetheless rough times, with the neighbouring Saxon kingdoms clear rivals to each other. Athelbald expanded significantly his own territory and power, although this was challenged by the neighbouring kingdom of Wessex. Athelbald, though, met a violent end in 757, with one suggestion saying that he was murdered by his own bodyguard. Thus, Offa inherited a powerful kingdom. William of Malmesbury says this of Offa: "He was a man of great mind, and who endeavoured to bring to effect whatever he preconceived." However, William also made clear that he felt Offa had his own fair share of faults as well, citing his execution of King Ethelbert of East Anglia, who would later be made a saint. It seems that Ethelbert was beheaded, and various stories surround the incident, with some reports suggesting that Offa's queen had been behind the murder. That incident came towards the end of Offa's long reign in 794, just a couple of years before he died. William of Malmesbury also suggests that Offa was motivated by a desire to take East Anglia under his control, which he did. Offa was a man capable of making tough decisions. He had put an end to Beornred's miserable reign by putting him to flight. Most of the more consequential events of Offa's reign came later on. Throughout the 760s, he became gradually more influential in the Kingdom of Kent, granting charters there. But any power he did have certainly didn't go unchallenged, as the men of Kent and Mercia joined in battle at Otford, although the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles does not record the outcome of the battle. It has been said in recent times that Offa was merely a rival to the Kentish kingdom, but it would seem that Offa may well have regarded that a little differently. In 779, Offa defeated his rival, Cynwulf of Wessex, who had previously reclaimed lands that had been seized by Athelbald. Offa's victory over Cynwulf came at the Battle of Bensington, with the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles stating that Offa took the settlement. Cynwulf would later be killed in 786 and would be succeeded by Beorhtric as King of Wessex. Beorhtric was more compliant in recognising Offa's authority, and he would soon marry Offa's daughter, Eadba. Offa also had to keep a close eye on the Welsh as well, leading numerous campaigns against them, and it was this that prompted him to build Offa's Dyke. Offa was an increasingly powerful man, and that was reflected in his relationship with one of the greatest rulers of the early Middle Ages and indeed any age, Charlemagne. Offa and Charles had numerous disagreements, with repeated embassies sent to the court of each king. Offa frequently disputed what Charles's ambassadors had to say, which, in the words of William of Malmesbury, led to violent feuds breaking out. These feuds became so serious that at one stage, trade between Mercian merchants and the Franks became virtually impossible. Even pilgrims wishing to set off on the long journey to Rome found their route through Charles's territories challenging to pass through without serious harassment. However, Offa couldn't allow this situation to go on forever, as it would do serious harm to both his prestige and his kingdom. In 795, a treaty was signed with Charlemagne. Charles wrote a letter to Offa confirming the arrangements. He wrote, Charles, by the grace of God, King of the Franks and Lombards, and patrician of the Romans, to his esteemed and dearest brother, Offa, King of the Mercians, sendeth health. First, we give thanks to God Almighty for the purity of the Catholic faith, which we find laudably expressed in your letters. Concerning pilgrims who, for the love of God or the salvation of their souls, wish to visit the residence of the holy apostles, let them go peaceably without any molestation. But if persons not seeking the cause of religion, but that of gain, be found amongst them, let them pay the customary tolls in proper places. We will, too, that traders have due protection within our kingdom, according to our mandate, and if any place they suffer wrongful oppression, let them appeal to us or to our judges, and we will see full justice done. Judging by Charles's words, praising Offa's piety, it's clear that the Mercian king had demonstrated considerable diplomatic skill in repairing his relations with Charles, and such shrewdness Offa had shown time and again, as well as marrying off Edba to the King of Wessex. Another of Offa's daughters, Alfred, was married to the King of Northumbria, extending Offa's influence even further. He was a ruthless man, as evidenced by his brutal removal of the King of East Anglia, and he came under some criticism for his dealings with the Church. William of Malmesbury accused Offa of treading a cruel path when it came to the Church and removing some of its privileges. Offa's son and successor, Egfrith, was careful not to go down the same road with the Church as his father, and was accordingly praised by William of Malmesbury. However, in stark contrast to Offa, Egfrith reigned for only a few short months. According to Alcuin of York, Egfrith had died not because of his sins, but because Offa, through his long reign, had shed a deluge of blood. The power of Mercia didn't completely disappear with Offa's death in 796, but after the death of Egfrith's own successor, Cenulf, in 821, it would soon become apparent that Wessex would become the dominant power of the Anglo-Saxons, as new challenges appeared on the horizon. In 793, just 3 years before Offa died, Lindisfarne, that holy isle in the north, was sacked by the Vikings. What Offa thought of that would be interesting to know, whether he regarded it as a one-off opportunistic raid or otherwise. Either way, he would not live to see the true devastating impact that would follow in the decades to come. But Offa had left his own imprint on history all the same.